Hey guys, so today I want to introduce you to and explore an add-on that is a favorite add-on of mine, specifically for Google Slides. Add-ons, if you're not sure what that means, it's exactly like it sounds. It is something that can be added on to a program or an application to give it some other cool features that it didn't have before. Some add-ons are free, some you have to pay for. But the one that we're going to be looking into today, called Pear Deck, has a free part to it, which the free one has a lot of really cool features. And there's also a premium. The premium has a very cool 30-day trial that it's awesome. But again, even without the premium, the free is definitely worth using, worth exploring, worth seeing how it works for you. So, what does it do? Why would I use it? It is going to give us a lot of added interactive components. So, drawing, drag and dropping, and it is already, there's a ton of templates that are created for us in the education world that I think you're going to love, especially in this time of remote learning. I'm going to show you. So today it's really not a tutorial, it's more of an introduction and exploration of this add-on. So first thing is, how do I get the add-on? Well, it's right up here where we click add-ons, and you're going to see I already have this Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on thing here. Yours is not going to be there. So you have to go to where it says get add-ons. And there's a lot of add-ons and they update them constantly. So I also encourage you to check out the other add-ons. I'm only talking about Pear Deck right now, but there are a lot of other really cool ones. You can even, I believe, go by your category and you can search under like just education apps, which I recommend if you're looking just for teaching purposes. So you would click right on Pear Deck, and then you would be able to be prompted to install it. So let's say you've already installed it. You find it right on the add-ons, Pear Deck for add-ons. And when I click open Pear Deck, my Pear Deck dashboard is going to open up on the right-hand side. So it should be right over here. Let me move my face over here so that you can see it. So this is going to basically take over when it comes time for like running it. I am going to be using the control here for the start lesson. Let me not get too ahead of myself. Let's just check out what they have first. I think you're going to love it. So the template library is awesome. I also want you to just see that there are different kinds of questions. So if you know you want to be including a certain feature or a certain kind of question in your lesson or your activity, you can be looking here, and that will help you to kind of categorize, to filter it. So if I clicked on draw, um, I would then have, see, um, an option for them to just go into drawings. Let's just say student device, let's say update slide. Let's see what happens. It's going to be adding an interactive question right here. So with that, I can put my question here, but what's going to happen is that below, the students are asked to be drawing. So you see at the bottom, it says students draw anywhere on this slide. You'll see when we look at the student view that they're going to have a whole toolbar at the bottom of different options for them to draw. And I know a lot of the younger grades were asking, how can I have them draw? How can I have them, form letters? And this is one way that that could be accomplished. So let me do just something really simple. Write your name. Okay. We're not going to get too crazy with these. So again, I could do it by just me creating them, or what I really suggest taking some time and exploring is the template library. Very cool that it actually does it in the parts of a lesson. So if you click on beginning of a lesson, you'll get things that we would use at the very beginning. So let's just take a look at those. So right now, this is a text slide. So like as you come in and get settled, follow these instructions. Let me see. Let's look at this one, another one that's kind of like a drawing and text possibility for an answer. And just so you know, when I went to it, I literally just clicked on it and then it inserts it into the slideshow. It basically is Pear Deck taking over Google Slides. So it says draw or type two things you already know about today's topic. If I wanted to change this, I could totally update this. So draw or type two things you already know about. Let's make it relevant to what we're doing about Pear Deck. All right. And then again, please just explore. This is not me telling you what to do or exactly how to do it, because I'd be lying to you if I said that I knew everything about Pear Decks. I find new things every time I access it. So just please think about what you would normally do, because you want this to not completely change your teaching. You want it to be intuitive for you and your style. Let's look at during the lesson possible slides. So there's a text slide if you wanted them to just summarize what you've just learned. I like these different kinds of options that are already created for me. So this one says, is this statement true or false? So I could put a statement up here that is true or false, and then it says students choose an option. Again, you're going to have a chance in a little bit to see the student side of it. So I'll wait. I know that it seems a little unclear here. Well, what do they do? Let me show you the student end. Now I need to move my face again so I'm not in the way. All right, let's look at some other options here. There's also, if you wanted them to do a concept like a mind map. All right. I used this one actually today with my students, asking an agree or disagree question. And this one's really formatted that there's a dot that appears on their screen, you'll see in the student view, and they just drag it to where they want it to be, which is really cool because I'm going to show you at the end, after as students complete it, then as the teacher, we're going to look at what it looks like coming back to us. And you can actually, on the teacher end with a slide like this, it's formatted and created as such that we'll see all of our students who agree and all of our students who disagree. It was very neat for me because I was able to see all of my students agreed on something. And if you were curious, because you had all of them in one area and then one or two in the other, if you, as the teacher, after hover over it, you can actually see who is where, but you don't, what I'm trying to say is it's created so you don't have to go through every student's slide for something like this. It puts all of their answers in one place for you. So you're going to notice that Pear Deck is very much a formative assessment tool. It has these like quick checks for us, which I don't know about you, but that's been something that has been really challenging for me as I teach remotely. So I used this today to check in with my students. Just gave them a couple of things on theme because that's what we're currently studying. And I was able to kind of do a quick check for understanding, and they didn't hate it. Not to say that they hate Google Docs or anything else, but it's a good switch up. So I definitely recommend trying to spice up your Google Slides with these. Another very important thing to know is that just because you have your Pear Deck in there, it does not mean that you can't have slides going as well. These can be inserted throughout a slideshow, or they can be your entire slideshow. It is totally up to you. Just think about what would work best for you with what you are trying to do. So again, this is just an exploration so that you understand that this resource is there and you can figure out how it fits you. I don't think it is a one size fits all kind of a thing. So even if you wanted to incorporate a stretch break in there, and it has like instructions with it, there's multiple choice. So again, looking through, and I'm going to show you how you as the teacher can play around with these and then look at what it looks like for your students, which is a very important thing during an instructional time remotely because we're not right with them. We can't walk over to their screen. Let's just look at an end of the lesson. This one I actually use in the morning with my students remotely. And this has been a huge godsend with my friends. They are used to the zones of discipline that we use at our school, that it's a color-coded kind of popsicle popping into a color-coded the popsicle stick isn't color coded, the cups are, and they place it into how they're feeling. So if you are looking for more of that SEL, the social emotional learning component, you could even just use these slides as isolated ones, that it's just one. I'm building a large slideshow just so we can see a lot of them at once, but you do not have to have this be academic. It could be SEL. It could be just a quick check-in. Again, it's just showing you what is out there. All right. And this is also another kind of drag and drop similar to what we had seen before. So how well did you like this lesson? I don't know about you, but I've been trying to get as much feedback as possible from my students, meaningful feedback. And as I'm trying to figure my way in this remote learning time. So I want to just go back to show you another category area that they have, critical thinking skills. And then I really do want to show you the social emotional. This was a cool one, which is what's filling your bucket today. If you're a classroom that uses bucket fillers, this could be something that you say, all right, I'm going to start our day with this. Again, you could have just one Pear Deck slide. All right. There are a lot of different ones. There's a stress check. This one's also very cool because it's another that they drag to where they are on the spectrum of stress. And the first time I did this with my students, I didn't even explain any of this because I wanted to see how intuitive these were, and they didn't have any questions. It was very, very clear. So they basically are going to drag and drop where they feel. And then again, I'm going to show you the student end, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like as a teacher at the very end. And as a teacher at the very end, you don't have to look through every student's. It's just going to show you where they all were. So like today, when I did a stress check with my students, a ton of them were in the green, but I only had like 2 or 3 over in the red. So I was able to hover my mouse over them and see who I really needed to check in with. I actually did a quick phone call home because I wanted to make sure that there wasn't something that I needed to know. I wanted to figure out how I could support them better. The last area, again, I'm not going through all of them. I need you to take some time and explore, is there are subject area slides. So things that are specific to setting up for ELA, for math, for social studies, for science, even ones that are more for the littles. So I know a lot of people were asking me in our last tutorial, how can they color? How can they form their letters? How can they do this? How could they, more things that are more age and grade level specific, ability specific. So I strongly encourage looking through and figuring out what makes sense for you. I'm going to put just one of these with the letters. There's also some coloring ones on here. I could spend forever, but what I need you to know is that it's here, and most of this is always free. The premium, you can get a 30-day free premium. Why not? right? That's going to cover most of the rest of the year. So again, add-ons, you go to get add-ons and that's where you'll access it. And then afterwards, you may have to refresh your screen and then it will live here. So let me show you now. So let's say I accidentally X'd out like I just did. I open the dashboard again. And now I'm going to go to start lesson. It's important that you understand that Pear Deck is created. Originally, it was for our traditional classroom setting that there would be something projected on our whiteboard or our smart board or whatever kind of a screen or device that you have in your classroom, somewhere that students would be able to see in your common space. And you could instruct them and you could control as they go through each slide. This is still possible. It would take a little bit more maneuvering. With older kids, I definitely think with my fifth graders who are used to using Google Meet, our video conferencing tool that we do on the daily, that I could share my screen on one tab and then have them open up their lesson in the other. And I could be talking to them with them listening to me as I pace with them and help them to create that. But this is definitely more of a challenge. The student paced activity allows them to go at their own speed, and it does not require you to be telling them, okay, go on to the next one or the next one. And it just requires you sharing a link with them. You could post it right into Classroom. So we're going to do this one. Okay. And again, this is still like what it looks like from the teacher end. And when you do that, give it a second here as it's launching. You're then going to be given some other options. All right. So it says, welcome to the teacher dashboard. This is a view just for you. So if you were ever sharing your screen with students, or if you use this in the classroom and it was projected, you would not want to, I should say, you would be cautious of sharing your dashboard because you can also in your dashboard show student responses. Sometimes there is power in showing student responses, as we know, but sometimes you don't want the students' answers being put up there, especially if it is a social emotional check-in. We don't want to put the students on blast. So just understand that if you're sharing your screen, the dashboard, you may not want to be really clicking on and showing. But what I would recommend is what they put over here is that you can also access the dashboard if you log in on a device, another device. Could be anything, but I hold up the phone because that's usually what people have near them, by going to peardeck.com/dash. All right. So right here, it's telling us how we can share our student lesson, our student-paced lesson with our students. You can share it to Classroom. I'm just going to copy the link right now, which copies to your clipboard. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open another tab to show you what it would look like in the student side of things. Again, you could share this link with them through whatever means. If you use Classroom, you can have it post right to Classroom, or you can post it on your own. If you use another way of communicating with your students, another hub, you could just share this link. So it always starts with asking, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling great. And again, I have this very, very Mod Podge of slides. Yours would be more intentionally thought out. But you see how much more fun this is, more interactive, a little bit change of pace. So they can write their name. So I'm just going to stay with the black. I'm going to go down here so you can see the tools. Highlighter, this is a pencil. This is just a line. This is a text that you would type. And then this is the eraser. I did not tell my fifth graders at all what any of this was, and they knew. It's very intuitive to children, but again, you could relay to them how to use these, but I'm just going to go with it. So pencil, black, and then I'm going to using either the touchpad or a mouse, or if they have a touch screen, they can use the touch screen for this. So my name is Amy. And again, don't judge me on my neatness. My handwriting is usually pretty neat. So what's cool is that this is student paced. If we were in the instructor paced one, instructor pace, not instructor paced, the instructor pace lesson, it would be students waiting on you, which I don't recommend for remote learning. So they're going to the next one at their own pace. Draw or type two things you already know about Pear Deck. So I'm going to go to the type. And what's important is that, they just have to click and drag over as much as they really need, and it will go down as much as is needed. So I know that Pear Deck is a great add on tool is what I'm going to say for formative assessments and check-ins. Okay, and then I could use the pencil and I could change colors to draw something else that I know about Pear Deck. That's an awful pair. But again, students, they really enjoy being able to have a little bit more choice in how they can relay their information to you. Let's go to the next one. Is this statement true or false? I would have typed a statement in there to say true or false. This is a multiple choice question. Oops, I skipped, I think. There we go. So drag your dot to indicate whether you agree or disagree. I would have typed a sentence here. This could be with a story and asking for their opinion. So I'm going to keep going. Oops. How are you feeling today? I noticed some of my students color coded with the dots that they wanted to circle it. I thought was interesting. How well did you like this lesson? Just kidding. What is filling your bucket today and what's draining it? So I look at this and I see that I could use any of them. I would probably use the text. So filling it is almost the weekend. Woo! Even though we can't go anywhere. It's almost the weekend though. Still on the text here. Draining is, let's say that I want to be able to go out and see my friends. That's what a lot of my students wrote. All right. So here we go. Now the stress check, they just drag over to where they're feeling and then fill in the missing letter. So they would be prompted to hopefully want to write if a lot of students just gravitate towards the writing piece. But again, it's your students and what they would do and what they need. So you would pick slides based upon that and edit them to make them what you want. So I've reached the end. And then this is the only thing that's weird about Pear Deck is students don't really have a done button. See, it says like you've reached 9 out of 9. There's an undo over there, which is another good one to see, but they just X out. All right. So what I wanted to show you, and I could have done another student, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time to show it. But I'm going to just go back here to where I started the lesson. I actually click on these 3 little bars and I go down to review sessions. So this is where I can, after all my students are done, I'm going to take my time to log in and take a peek at what they said, or I open this up at the beginning of my day because my students kind of pace. There's a lot of flexibility with their pacing. So I have this open as a tab and I just kind of keep checking in with it. Again, if it is something that goes over the course of the day, that works. But if this is something that you're doing as a morning check-in, for instance, and it's just one slide, you can look at it immediately for sure. So this was my student paced one. I hadn't titled it, which you should do. If you just, whatever you title the slideshow would automatically go there. So I click on these three dots for more actions, and I'm going to end the session, meeting students, even though it was at their pace. Time's up, kiddos. All right. So I've ended the session, and now I would like, oops, hold on. Oops. I'd like to get some more of the information. So what I was going to say, sorry, something popped up over here, is there are a bunch of options here. I could name it if it didn't have a name. Takeaways are if you wanted to share out with students, like all of their voices, which is powerful. But again, it depends on what it is. And then if you wanted to export everything to a spreadsheet, but that's really dependent on what kind of slides that you have. So right here is the teacher dashboard view. That's where we want to go to check out our responses. And as it's loading, you're going to see all of the answers. We only had one student who participated, right? It was me. But what we would do in order to be able to navigate this well is I would click on the first slide over here, and then there would be a scroll bar that I'd be able to scroll through all of the students' options, all of the students' responses. So I would go through like Amy, maybe there was Billy, maybe there was Susie, and they would all be here, their responses for this slide. When I want to look at the next slide, all of the students' responses, I would be able to scroll through. And at the bottom here, it says who it is. That's also important. If you are on Google and students have Google, I require them to sign in. Otherwise, there is another option, which I can show you over here quickly, that you do not have to require them to log in with their email. They could just put a name in, which is important to know. All right. So you can see with this one, it would show, again, I wouldn't have to scroll through all of them. It would show all of the responses, and it would say like 4 said true, 2 said false, which it makes it very streamlined on the teacher end for these kinds of questions to not have to go through all of them. On this one, I would be able to scroll through every student's response. All the question types vary, but a question like this with the dots, I would see all of my students' responses, and then I could hover over it to see who was who. So if I had someone who really hated the lesson and I really wanted their constructive feedback, which is what I typically do, I could hover over them and reach out to them. The bucket one is an individual. So you would scroll through and see all of the students' individual slides. The stress check, it puts all of the lines of your students where they're at on one. So I would see a bunch of purple lines. The first time I saw this slide, I thought something was wrong, but then I realized as I hovered over it, it was just my separate students. So again, if I had students over here, I would be able to check in with them. So the slide here would be, you could scroll through and look at each of your students and know who it is based upon the name here. So again, Pear Deck is just another option. There are tons of add-ons. If you are interested in more add-ons, please let me know. But I figured, especially in this time of remote learning, as teachers are trying to find any resource possible, I wanted to show one that had a lot of freedom for you to get templates that are already created save some time and stress, but also templates that you can then alter. Lots of suggestions, lots of really good ones that I definitely think that all teachers could use. So I challenge you to find one Pear Deck slide at least, to try to implement soon. Let me know how it goes.